Children, today we begin with, nationalism in India. This is part 13. Now, in today's class, we're going to discuss about merchants and industrialists and what is their response to the civil disobedience movement. Also, we're going to discuss about the workers who are working in the factories. And finally, we're going to discuss about women. Now, let me tell you first about those people, that is the industrialists and the merchants. Now, the industrialists and the merchants, during the time of the First World War, there were not many ships that were coming with all British goods. There were not many ships coming with British goods. Now, as a result of ships not coming, many of the Indians, they started to produce the goods within our own country. Now, when we started producing the goods, what we wanted was, now that the war is over, now that we have started producing these goods, the British imported goods should not be allowed into the country. Why it should not be allowed? So that our factories, our goods, that will be able to flourish properly. So we didn't want, children, that their goods should come. Now, the merchants and or industrialists, they were supportive of the Congress. Now, when they were supportive of the Congress, children, naturally they expected that the Congress would do something to stop the import of foreign goods. Another thing, there was, children, a big difference between the rupee and sterling ratio. Sterling is the currency. It's like, children, today, $1 is equal to, say, about 75 rupees or so. Now, if I have to purchase even a bottle of water, if I go to America, I have to pay $1. Now, $1 means 75 rupees for a bottle of water. I prefer not to drink water, right? Now, for the foreigners who come to India, they $1 buys them 75 rupees worth of Indian products. So, they are at an advantage, we are at a disadvantage. Now, children, what happens is, the industrialists wanted that the ratio between the rupee and the sterling, that is the British currency, both this should be equal. There should not be any distinction. There should not be any kind of problem. Now, another thing is, now to look after all the trade and commerce, they had also started the FICCI and organizations, that will look after the proper trade and commerce management of the country. But before they could get all their, all their demands fulfilled, Gandhi called off the CDM. They lost such a lot because their factories and all were on strike and not participating with the British. Then when Gandhi said, start it again, they were not going to start it again. They were so irritated, they said, no, we have encountered enough of loss. So now we are not going to start with that anymore. Now came the worker class. Now worker class, they were demanding, children, less hours of work because, there's a limit to which man can actually work. Now they wanted less hours of work. And besides less hours of work, children, they also wanted better salaries and better working conditions. And, the Congress was little hesitant. They didn't want to take up the matter of the workers. Because if they took the matter of the workers, that means they're going to disappoint the industrialists and the industrialists and the merchants. So they didn't care really for the demands of the workers. So when the workers found that they're not interested in us. They're more interested in the rich, helping the industrialists, the merchants, but not us. When they would ask, join the CDM by Gandhi again, oh, they refused. Obviously, because see children, in the end, they have to go back to the industrialists to work in their factories. If they're going to agitate, they're going to be told you're out of your job. So they had to work too. They had to work. That was very important. Now, came the women children. Whenever Gandhi had any meeting, women were the first people to be out there. Women were the first people to be out. And yet, children, when the time came and the women wanted some representation in the government, Gandhi totally refused. And he said women should be at home, looking after their families. So, if that is the condition, that women have to look after their families, then children tell me, why should women come and be a part of the CDM campaign? Now, besides these people, there was also children, two groups of people. And those two groups of people, one is the Dalits and the other is the Muslims. The Dalits and the Muslims, children, they are known as limits of the CDM. They didn't want to join the CDM from the very beginning. Now, why they didn't want to join, I'll explain a little later after I have dictated to you merchants and industrialists and about the workers. So now children, take out your copies, children, and please take down, put the heading, merchants and industrialists. Merchants and industrialists. During the First World War, Indian merchants and industrialists, Indian merchants and industrialists made huge profits and became powerful. Keen on expanding their business, they reacted against colonial policies that restricted business activities. They wanted protection. They wanted protection against, now put A point, A, import of foreign goods. Import of foreign goods. B point, rupee sterling ratio. Rupee sterling ratio. Now, next slide. To organize business interest, to organize business interest, they formed the, better please highlight, Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress, Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920, and please highlight Federation of the Indian Chamber, Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Commerce and Industries. In bracket write FICCI. Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries in 1927. Now, next paragraph, please write. Please start with the next paragraph. Led by prominent industrialists, Purushottam Das Thakur Das, Purushottam Das Thakur Das, and G.D. Birla, the industrialist attack colonial control Now, next paragraph. Many industrialists supported the CDM. Many industrialists supported the CDM. But after the failure of the Round Table Conference, after the failure of the Round Table Conference, business groups were no longer enthusiastic. Business groups were no longer enthusiastic. Next heading, children. Working class. Is somebody talking? Next heading, working class. Working classes did not participate in the CDM except in highlight Nagpur region. However, many workers adopted some of the Gandhian program. Some of the Gandhian program, like boycott of foreign goods. Like boycott of foreign goods. This they did because they wanted to protest against low wages and poor working conditions. Next paragraph. The Congress was reluctant was reluctant to include workers' demands as a part of its program. Congress felt that this would upset the industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces. Next, put the heading Women. Women wholeheartedly supported Gandhi's campaigns. They began to see service to the nation as a sacred duty of women. But Gandhi believed that it was the duty Gandhi Kushagra Bhargava, I request you. Gandhi believed that it was the duty of women to look after their home, of women to look after their home, be good mothers, and good wives. Congress was reluctant. To give women to give women any position of authority. Any position of authority. Now, I end here this class, children, and in the next session, we'll be doing limits of the CDM, right? See you in the next session.